Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Look, if you're out there literally building anarchist communes right now, figuring out a historical blueprint for a genuinely functional stateless society, that's an absolutely crucial exercise. So today we're diving into the life and the revolutionary blueprint of Gregory Petrovich Maximoff, relying strictly on Sam Dolgoff's incredibly detailed biographical text. Maximoff wasn't just a guy sitting around writing pure theory. He was a pragmatist. He demanded workable structures, and we're going to look at exactly how he designed them.
Okay, let's dive into this. Maximoff boldly declared that anarcho-syndicalists did not intend to become a sect of, quote, impotent grumblers. And, he backed that up. He was actually a trained agronomist. He graduated from the St. Petersburg Agricultural Academy back in 1915, and he brought that exact scientific, earthbound practicality right into his revolutionary work. He demanded practical, workable structures over pure theory, aiming directly at what he called the constructive problems of the social revolution.
So here is our roadmap through Dolgoff's text for today. 1. Synthesizing communalism and syndicalism. 2. Constructive alternatives to Bolshevism. 3. State repression and exile. And 4. Transnational solidarity and legacy.
All right, starting with Section 1, Synthesizing Communalism and Syndicalism.
So Dolgoff explains how Maximoff extensively studied radical literature and ultimately blended the ideas of Mikhail Bakunin and Peter Kropotkin into this single, unified, and really practical theory. Maximoff famously stated, "I am a communist because I believe in communal consumption on the principle of each according to his needs." He focused on communalism specifically as the method for consumption within a stateless society. For those of you organizing commune logistics today, this directly speaks to how resources are distributed once they're actually produced. But, how do we handle the production itself?
Now, what's really interesting here is how he balances that communal consumption with syndicalist production. Dolgoff's text defines Maximoff's view of syndicalism as the real engine of it all. It's the means to overthrow capitalism and install communism by having the producers' labor unions actually seize production. So production is built entirely around communist relations between the producers themselves. It's like a complete, self-sustaining loop, Workers managing the creation of goods and communes managing their distribution.
Moving right along to Section 2. Constructive alternatives to Bolshevism.
This is where we move from pure theory into actual praxis. We're looking at how Maximoff and his comrades practically applied these ideas during the immense upheaval of the 1917 Russian Revolution. We aren't just talking about vague ideals here. Dolgoff's text outlines a literal, practical checklist. We're talking free Soviets, grassroots housing and neighborhood committees, workers' self-management driven by rank-and-file factory federations, agricultural collectives, and entire networks of non-profit cooperatives. For those of you hyper-focused on commune building, this is a historical blueprint for assembling a complex society from the ground up, entirely through voluntary rank-and-file organizations rather than top-down state control.
However, Dolgoff's text documents a pretty severe ideological clash here. See, Maximoff aimed for spontaneously organized rank-and-file factory committees coordinating together organically. But the Bolshevik reality that emerged was the increasing domination of the labor movement by state-controlled unions. According to the source, this ultimately led to the crushing of the Kronstadt sailors' revolt and the violent suppression of peasant and workers' strikes. The text outlines these as two fundamentally competing, fundamentally different visions for exactly how a post-capitalist society should function.
And that brings us to Section 3, State Repression and Exile.
So the tension between a state-managed system and Maximoff's grassroots syndicalism inevitably resulted in direct, personal conflict. Tracing this through Dolgoff's text reveals a rapid, incredibly dramatic timeline of resistance. In 1919, Maximoff flat-out refused to do propaganda work for the Red Army because, he'd be forced to spread Bolshevik rather than anarchist ideas. Because of this, he was arrested by the Cheka, the secret police, and literally narrowly avoided execution. But he was totally unbowed. By 1920, he was organizing an underground federation of food workers. Naturally, this activism led to his imprisonment in the notorious Taganka prison in Moscow. It was there in 1921 that he and 12 other anarchists declared a 10-day hunger strike. Finally, through the direct intervention of foreign syndicalist delegates, Lenin and Trotsky agreed to release them, but only on the condition of permanent deportation. So, in 1922, Maximoff was expelled to Berlin.
Which leads us to our final part, Section 4, Transnational Solidarity and Legacy.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because deportation absolutely did not stop Maximoff's organizing. It really just shifted his battleground.
He and his comrades immediately pivoted to transnational organizing the second they reached Germany. Step 1, they established Berlin as the nerve center for the international Russian anarchist movement. Step 2, Maximoff significantly contributed to organizing the anarcho-syndicalist International Working Men's Association, the IWMA, as a revolutionary alternative. And Step 3, they tirelessly worked to preserve manuscripts and smuggle the truth of the Russian Revolution out of the country, publishing materials to share their revolutionary experiences with the entire global movement.
The text notes that the Maximoffs ultimately arrived in the United States in 1925, settling down in Chicago. And in a kind of surprising twist of daily logistics, Maximoff actually became a paper hanger by day just to earn a living, but by night, he was a tireless revolutionary. He joined the Industrial Workers of the World, the IWW, and became the editor of the highly influential Russian émigré journal Delo Truda. Through all of this, he was continuously pushing his readers toward a realistic, constructive approach to social revolution.
Now, Dolgoff explicitly states that no account of Maximoff's life would be adequate without recording the absolutely vital contributions of his wife and comrade in arms, Olga Friedland. This was a deeply, deeply shared struggle. Olga's record was incredible. I mean, she was exiled to Siberia as a youth for smuggling subversive literature. She was heavily active in the cooperative movements. She worked in the Gaulis Truda group where the two of them actually first met. And later in life, she donated literally everything she had to the Alexander Berkman Fund for the relief of political prisoners. Her dedication was absolute, and for sure foundational to their shared legacy.
Maximoff's legacy fundamentally rejected the romantic glorification of conspiracy, violence, or just a total lack of self-discipline. He believed deeply that, quote, anarchism is a social movement, a movement of the people. We must work out a constructive, realistic approach to the problems of the social revolution. Instead of just getting lost in mere theory, he favored a highly disciplined, community-driven social reconstruction. He wanted a framework that could actually handle the socioeconomic complexities of a real, functioning society.
So what does this all mean for us? How can Maximoff's call for a constructive, realistic approach be applied today? For those of you out there actively building communes and alternative structures right now, the text leaves you with a really fascinating challenge. How do you balance communal consumption with organized production without replicating state control? It's a compelling historical blueprint that sparks some really crucial questions for modern organizing. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and we'll see you next time.